Ah, yes, an isekai anime. My favorite. It is also one of those isekai animes where instead of having an overpowered Japanese show up and teach all the stupid primitive barbarians the wonders of modern civilization, they're now getting stuck in some weird and random objects, forcing the author to actually get creative in order to fulfill his colonialist power fantasies. Oh, how wondrous. Ha 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 ha. Okay, I had my fun, let's get serious for a moment. Do you know why people who never usually watch isekai animes will almost always laugh at the idea of this, phylactery isekai? Object isekai? It's because shit like this signifies that the genre is getting into a state of what we in the biz like to call creative drought. Isekai protagonists are basically an expected trope at this point, to the point where in a lot of recent animes it is expected that there are multiple of them. We can't just make a story about an overpowered earthling civilizing a fantasy world. Nobody's going to read this, it's boring, so they need to either get creative with their world building or give some sort of limits to the protagonist, make him autistic about farming, turn him into a sword or a pig or a slime or pretty much anything. Part of me wishes to say that this is the last vestige of a dying genre, but nah, it'll never fucking die. We have so many tropes to explore, like the hero whose sole point is to get revenge, or a hero that is actually evil, or any other bullshit. Isekai at this point is less of a defined genre and more of a set of tropes you can use as flavoring in any setting. But I have digressed long enough. Reborn is a vending machine, Now I Wander the Dungeon is a 12-episode object isekai fantasy anime about a Japanese man that liked vending machines so much he turned into a vending machine, and after getting acquainted with a girl called Lamis, he now wanders the dungeon. Yep, that's pretty much the whole point of the show. Can't say I dislike it that much though, partially because it's actually not as comedic as one would expect. Yeah, the show actually has interesting world building, though I'm still debating on whether or not the author themselves was cognizant about it. See, the entire show is happening inside of a dungeon. Dungeons are a staple of the fantasy genre, and while the Western fantasy kinda never really bothers with them that much, in Japanese fantasy most dungeons are basically D&D's Underdark. That is to say, there's an entire ecosystem there that's ripe for settling and exploring, and it's the same thing here, where the dungeon is basically treated like a, well, pardon me for once again touching this topic, a colony on a faraway continent. The entire show is happening in a dungeon, which is divided into levels, and people just live there. We never really see what life is outside of dungeon, only little glimpses, but why would you, though? It's a show about a girl and her trusty magical boxo that lives a more or less tranquil life. I mean, look at it. Sure is a boxo, alright. Boxo's mechanics are also meticulously explained, utilizing not only RPG systems, but also providing a lot of interesting information about the Japanese vending machine culture. All in all, I can entirely understand why this manga was liked enough to warrant an adaptation, and if you like fantasy anime, then I'd say it's actually not that bad, however painfully predictable it may be. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's nothing much to say otherwise. Bye.